Telegraph, thousands of people lining the streets have given the relay a carnival feel. For example, someone dressed as a cod and another as a chip in Falmouth. You Brits really know how to put on a show, right?
You wait till you see our opening ceremony.
There'll be hundreds of chips.
Six or seven cod.
Boris in a giant cod costume.
This is the Olympic torch, which is boldly going where no Olympic torch has gone before. Namely, yes, I agree with you. Namely, Turo and Il Fracum.
Sounds deeply sexual. Kind of like a cigar advert.
Have you been to Il Fracum?
I have.
The place is laced with prostitution.
That's their new slogan now.
That's right. Come and get laid in Il Fracum.
In happier football news, why were 240,000 Leicester fans on the street this week?
Because homelessness in Leicester has gone through the roof.
They're very happy.
Yes, delirious.
Yeah, because they've won.
What did they win, Ian?
They've won the thing.
What is the thing called?
They won the Premiership. I know this.
Premier League.
You're not allowed to call it the Premiership, am I right?
Why aren't you allowed to call it the Premiership?
Well, they changed. It was one of those branding things. They changed it quite a few years ago.
Right, I see.
And they get a little bit upset. if you call
The
it
Premiership's now called Sir David Attenborough.
Yes, they were celebrating Leicester's extraordinary success. There was a performance, actually, from local band Kasabian, a gospel choir singing football songs, and, of course, superfan Lee Jobber with his top off.
Oh, yeah.
I see he's mimicking the trophy from behind by the bulges. Bloody hell. They might get relegated next year. That'd be funny, wouldn't it?
Which football team does David Cameron support?
Aston Villa.
Well, he doesn't really know, does he? And he claimed to be an Aston Villa supporter, but then he said this in a speech.
Where you can support Man United, the Windies and Team GB all at the same time. Of course, I'd rather you supported West Ham.
He seemed to realise he said the wrong thing.
How did he explain his mistake?
I don't support West Ham or Aston Villa. I'm no interested in football. We played rugger where I come from. But a lot of people watch football, so I pretended to have an interest in it in order to gain their votes.
So, Ruth, everyone makes mistakes. Is all forgiven?
Yes, as long as he never referees for us again.
Well, this is what you tweeted after the game. You are kidding me. Sick. But what a shift from Scotland. Bloody heroes all. Were you a bit tipsy when you sent that tweet?
My partner is Irish, and the Ireland game was on directly before the Scotland game, so we may have been enjoying a convivial atmosphere in Edinburgh's finest wining and dining establishments for 7 hours by the time that tweet was sent. Yes.
And to be fair, you were probably still rat-ass from when England went out the week before.
Any other tweets you may have regretted? Ruth said of kicker Greg Laidlaw, I think I love Greg Laidlaw in a way that we'd both find uncomfortable. Wow, that would be quite a conversion.
There were a lot of people that tweeted back, especially heterosexual married men, that said they felt the same.
Are we back to nailing people against the wall?
Are you asking?
Should the rest of us just discreetly leave at this point? Oh, is that the time?
Is Sepp Blatter standing down? Do you think he'll stand down?
He's not the standing down type, I would say.
I think he has support outside of Europe, doesn't he, within the world football, so he's likely to continue.
Did you hear his defence, which was along the lines of, I cannot monitor everyone all of the time? You know, the Rebecca Brooks excuse. What happened at the end of Sepp's press conference?
Did he just hand out brown envelopes and say, you know what I mean?
Actually, he signed off his speech ahead of dancing girls coming onto the stage. We must continue to fight for positive change in football, even when some among us let us down. So please enjoy our show.
But it's a triumph for the American justice system. I noticed we did nothing at all.
No.
I mean, Andrew Jennings, brilliant journalist, wrote a book in 2006 about this called Foul. We've known FIFA and the Sunday Times turn them over every week and the Sunday Telegraph. Nothing happens. In America, stealing money is a proper offence.
Yeah.
Dawn raids, 7 of them in Switzerland. Fantastic. Men with FBI suits.
Yeah. But you're right, they don't muck about, the Americans. If they encounter corporate fraud, if someone's found guilty of corporate fraud, you know, they get jailed. Whereas over here, they instantly get Alzheimer's.
Ryan Giggs
In the news this week, following the cancellation of several high-profile sporting events, the All England club put measures in place to ensure this year's Wimbledon can go ahead.
Come on, Tim.
Tim, how out of date are you with this?
You're lucky it's not Fred Perry.
Right, we're going to start with the biggest story of the century. Ian and Miles, have a look at this.
That's me every morning, worried I've got it. That's my living room. Now that's supermarket sweep. Now that looks like 20,000 of Boris's new coppers. Yeah, it's the virus, which, you know, has resulted in the most weird set of circumstances in all of our lifetimes. The planning for pandemics has obviously not been this government's great strength. I mean, it hasn't been in very long, but I think any of the government's great strengths, and it is rather remarkable to hear them talk a slogan about it's time that we saved the NHS, which is something that they could have contributed to a bit earlier.
What's happening with the testing?
Only very, very important people are being tested. So the Prince of Wales, the Prime Minister, anyone the Prime Minister's met in the last 5 minutes, anyone he's had intimate contact with in the last 5 years. No, I've made that bit up.
There's not enough testing equipment to carry out that sort of event.
We haven't tested in the same way that some other countries have, and this is impeding it, and it may be why the lockdown has to be so severe. But, I mean, that's what everyone from the World Health Organization always keeps saying, is just keep testing. Test everyone. And so far, we're not testing the NHS people, so they don't know if they're well enough to go back. You know, they have to self-isolate, and then they could be going back in. So, yeah, there's a number of things that need to speed up very rapidly.
Yeah, how did Boris pick up his infection according to The Sun?
Is this a historic story, or it's just...
Yeah, the current infection, Ian.
I think The Sun has taken a long, hard scientific look at it and decided it was Barnier.
With the coronavirus thing, presumably, if you were watching press conferences of him doing, he would be standing at a lectern with someone about 18 inches away from him saying, you must keep 2 metres away from people. So at that point, you could have seen that he was the sort of person that might be susceptible to contracting a virus if he was incapable of following advice that he was himself at the time actually giving.
Well, I want to ask Ian a question. I'd like to ask Ian a question. Why has he broken into his local reference library in order to do this programme?
No, this is a very ordinary set of shelves, Paul.
How many of those books have you actually read? Or indeed coloured in?
Nearly all of them.
Carry on, Steph.
But hasn't Boris got his Churchill moment now, though?
Yeah, Churchill the dog.
Ryan Giggs has spent an awful lot of money to ensure that he's become world famous for stuff other than football.
Yeah.
But people still might be sued for telling people that it was him. So.
Yeah, well, that's right. The MP, John Hemming, he said that apparently 75,000 people named Ryan Giggs on Twitter. It's not possible to arrest them all. Well, I mean, it's worth a go, though, isn't it? I mean, well, the thing is, the injunction is still in place.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Despite the people keep going blabbing it out, there's a legal expert, Joshua Rosenberg.
Yeah.
This is what he had to say about it, right?
Well, the law is clear. There is still a court order in force which says that we can't name Ryan Giggs as the person who brought these proceedings.
I'm pleased we can say his name, though, because I was getting so fed up. Every newspaper, every day, it was like, Imogen Thomas has been having sexual liaisons with a man who cannot be named. It's like, what, Voldemort?
Yeah.
I sort of see why he did it as well, Ryan Giggs, because you get the super injunction. He knows that if his identity was known, then people would know not only who he was, but also that his marriage was on the rocks. And at that point, John Terry would be round his house like a sex-crazed whippet.
Yes, the worst kept secret in Britain is finally out. Lawyers are a complete waste of money. As the row unfolded, thousands of Twitter users named Ryan Giggs in what the Daily Mail called one of the biggest acts of civil disobedience in modern times. Top that, Syria, lightweights.
Feminews, where did women narrowly fail to break down a sexist barrier?
Oh, golf.
Oh, yes. Well done.
Oh, thank you, Giles. This was Muirfield Golf Club. They've refused to have women playing golf.
That's it.
And therefore they can't have the Open Golf Championship there.
And there was some famous golf commentator who said if women want to come to the club, they should marry a member.
Peter Alice.
Yeah.
Yes, top BBC golfing commentator Peter Alice told The Telegraph, if you want to join, get married to a member. The wives can use all the facilities at the club for free. The clubhouse is full of bloody women. They love going there for nothing. Does he even know how competitive the marry a rich old white guy market is? Like, how many Jerry Halls do I have to punch in the tit just to get a free gin and tonic? United, the National Living Statue champions, Bob Dylan and a policeman from Coventry.
They're footballers. Is that our entire police force? Give us a clue.
Yes.
We do know it, obviously, but we're
Obviously.
just struggling a bit.
It's about people standing still.
Ah.
Standing still. Oh, Bob stands still. That's the thing that he does when he's annoyed.
Really?
Yes, the silver people stand still.
Do the Leeds footballers have a goal celebration in which they freeze?
No, they stood still to let Aston Villa score.
Why? Why?
As an act of sportsmanship, which for Leeds United, that's the
extraordinary.
first.
Is it the Coventry policeman is moving around a lot? Or, yes, he's moving around more than he should be. He's doing a bit of dancing and he should be just doing traffic duty or something.
Almost. They've all been praised for standing still, apart from a police officer from Coventry who's been criticised for jumping up and down. Why would he be jumping up and down?
He's
trying to get out
happy.
of Coventry.
He's excited.
It was the trampoline. They were on a drugs raid or something, and
Well, it sounds like it.
he was filmed, bouncing up and down. There's no actual visual evidence of a trampoline, so maybe he's just got very springy legs. But I think he's been disciplined.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A kangaroo court.
Let's have a look.
See, there's no trampoline in that shot.
Oh, he didn't get back up after that, did he? He could be jumping on the belly of a suspect.
Why has football team Leeds United been praised for standing still?
Oh, I know this one because...
Yes. Ian, I think it's Aston Villa, isn't it?
It's quite an interesting act of
Yeah.
They allowed their opponents, Aston Villa, to kick off and score a goal uncontested, a tactic Scottish football fans are familiar with. One Leeds United player did try to stop Aston Villa scoring, Pontus Jansson. He's a cult figure there. Have you heard the song about him?
No.
It goes, Pontus Jansson's magic, he wears a magic hat, and if you throw a brick at him, he'll head the fucker back.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Here are the living statue champions. This is live footage, it's a video.
That's impressive.
Did the runner-up come as a tree?
Why did Bob Dylan stand still this week?
He does get grumpy these days. I mean, he was always grumpy, but he's got more grumpy.
Well, the singer stopped a concert this week to scold fans for continuously taking pictures and ended up having to hold a pose to make his point. Well, as part of his rant, he said, "We can either play or pose, okay?" Unfortunately, none of the above was not an option. After admonishing the public, Bob Dylan stepped backwards and found himself tripped up by a tiny speaker. Now he knows how Theresa May feels.
Does anyone know why that VT was pixelated at the end?
It's copyright, isn't it?
That's right.
Almost everything. So beneath that pixelating, I think there are the Olympic rings.
Yeah.
In some cultures, are the rings considered pornographic?
I think that's what's under there. They look like rings from here. Are you going to unpixelate it in an act of daring?
I'm not actually allowed to show you, because if I did, I would get sent to Jordan with... No, the VT is pixelated because we're not allowed to show the Olympic logo because it comes under the remit of 2 Acts of Parliament preventing misuse of Olympic logos. Well, I mean, we could have got permission, but I'd have had to have jumped through all sorts of hoops. So,
It was very heavily policed in China, wasn't it? Didn't they go into the toilets and if you get a one of those hand dryers, they have to put sticky tape over the name of the company who do the hand dryer or something
really?
like that?
they're actually going to be doing that here, yes.
Yes.
In the toilet, soap dispensers, wash basins.
And you're not allowed to take in any drink or product that isn't sponsored.
Yes, yes.
Which is going to be tough for the Queen, isn't it?
Why?
She's a brand.
Oh, I see what you mean. I thought you meant
brand.
she liked a McDonald's burger.
Yeah. She's having a full Adidas tracksuit run as we speak.
Also, the athletes aren't allowed to tweet. I know there's like a really hardcore guidelines about what they're allowed to say on the internet about what they're doing, what they're... Like, they can't say, "Oh, I'm so thirsty, I love water." It has to be like, "I love super action mega water."
But there's also, isn't there something about sort of local businesses, like the Olympic Kebab Grill or something, that's been forced to change its name in case people think, "Oh, I wonder if that's the official kebab shop of the Olympic Games."
Absolutely. The Olympic Cafe in Stratford was told he couldn't call his restaurant Cafe Olympic and he'd have to change the sign. Now, it would have cost him £3,000 to change it, so according to the Newham Recorder, he decided to make the necessary alterations with minimal expense.
That's very good.
Well, he's painted the O out, so if you have trouble finding it, the Cafe Olympic is excellent value, and it's at 61 West Ham Lane, Stratford, E15 4PH. Now, there's all sorts
Do you have to book?
You probably do now.
Any other Scotsman had a bad week this week?
Well, David Moyes hasn't had a good week.
That's the answer to the question.
Oh, well done.
Have a point. Somebody's going to step in as a sort of caretaker, do you know?
Ryan Giggs.
Ryan Giggs.
Even I know that.
Yes.
Are you allowed to say his name in public? Rather you than me.
Andy Gibbons tweeted, "Ryan Giggs' first role as Man United manager will be to check the fitness of all the players' wives and girlfriends." Who's not interested in that job? Do you know?
Oh, is it Sir Bruce?
It's Jurgen Klopp.
Oh.
He's ruled himself out, but he's asked if his brother Clipperty could be considered.
Cooperated with the FIFA inquiry?
The English?
Yes, no one except the English and the Australians, and definitely not the Russians or the Qataris.
We never get it, do we? We're conducting... Oh, yes, we'll help. You're guilty.
But why... I mean, why would anyone believe the Russians could be corrupt? But why didn't they cooperate with the FIFA inquiry?
Because they destroyed all their records by accident. Yes. As you do when someone says, "I'm conducting an investigation."
It was simply that the Russians were unable to provide more than a few documents from the bidding process because the computers they used during their bid had been leased, they were returned and subsequently destroyed by their original owners.
We must bid for the World Cup. First, we must rent some computers.
Qatari Mohammed bin Hammam undoubtedly paid money to a delegate from Tahiti specifically to vote for the Qatari bid, but why have FIFA dismissed this as irrelevant?
But they said he wasn't acting on behalf of the Qataris. Despite being Qatari and described by the Qataris as their greatest asset in our bid for the World Cup, he was not acting for them. Thank goodness FIFA sorted that one out.
But in this instance, they know he paid money to a delegate to vote for the Qatari bid, so that it's definitely to do with the Qatari bid, but they dismissed it as irrelevant because they said this was only one vote out of the 13 required and therefore could not have been significant. If the ballot papers of 1/13 of the British electorate were forged, that wouldn't be relevant because it couldn't affect the result.
No.
I mean, it's not funny, but these people are arseholes. What, according to the FIFA report, did the English bidding team do that was so worthy of condemnation?
They organised a gala dinner for Warner and generally sucked up to him.
It's almost sweet, our pathetic attempts to bribe them. We sponsored a dinner for Caribbean football to the tune of £30,000 and found a part-time job for a friend of Jack Warner. That's the Jack Warner that the Qataris paid over $1 million to. I think they got a signed copy of your book as well. Did you see the exchange of emails between some of bin Hammam's staff as the allegations of corruption first surfaced?
No.
Well, they appeared in the Sunday Times. It starts, I need you to start shredding his correspondence. So soon? Yes, start from now. There are 3 years of filing to be shredded. Just do it discreetly, OK? What about the request from the Russians to shred?